like that. But definitely some pretty interesting stuff. In this next topic, we're going to talk about the Tesla model vehicles and how there was massive price cuts, as we know, $13,000, $3,000 and all that stuff. But Teslas, surprisingly and actually kind of weirdly, still hold value. Sometimes, like even though these price cuts just happen, a lot of these vehicles are still holding a lot of value at the markets in a bunch of different areas. So I'll show you some data that shows that the Tesla Model Y, especially like 2022s, are still selling at a very high valuation for no reason at all. But if you're just joining in, my name is Dennis. I love talking about Tesla hacking, as I like to call it, but basically just getting the best deal on Tesla at the best financing rate. So definitely hit that subscribe if you're interested. And today's video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link down below in the description if you want to support the channel, where you can get access to the best Tesla buying guide out there that has links to all the credit unions and banks as low as 2.99 to 3.7%. So definitely check it out. Patreon link down below in the description. So let us get into this. Shout out to Inside EV's headline: despite price cuts, Teslas hold better value than most luxury cars, says a study. 5 rounds of price cuts since January of 2023, including some huge reductions. Of course, that's the $3,000 one, the $13,000 one, $2,000 one, all of them. And it's still not enough to put a Tesla behind the rivals. So taking a look at this, you can see there's some average depreciation, and we've kind of known about this for a while. And we can always factor this into the cost analysis over the 5-year and stuff like that. But I really try and not use this because this is something, most people keep their car for 5 years or more. And so you don't want to kind of base it on that you're going to sell the car, because it's kind of a gamble, because like what if, knock on wood, there's accidents, or that could really hit depreciation, all these different stuff that could be out of your control at the end of the day. But it's still good to see that all these different vehicles, Tesla is still holding the most valuation at the end of it. And it kind of makes sense, right? Tesla, because it's such a strong brand name, or it was such a strong brand name, maybe not so much with these recent price cuts, maybe it's a little bit less than before. A lot of people still want to buy a Tesla, and probably a lot of people will buy a Tesla over all these other electric vehicle brand names and models on this list you can see right here. So they compared it against the Chevy Bolt, Nissan Leaf, Toyota Prius Prime, which that's a great car, Chevy Bolt, Hyundai Kona, and the Mustang Mach-E. And so kind of makes sense. I mean, a lot of people, as much as they probably hate on Tesla, it's still a great value, especially with the new price, especially with the $7,500 tax credit. There's still a lot of hype, and not everybody, I guess, gets into the weeds like we do here, and with all the different pricing dynamics, tax credits, and all that stuff. They probably see the car, they buy it, and they drive off and be on their way. But the one thing I noticed, which is really, really weird, and that's why I try, whenever people ask me, hey Dennis, like Model 3 or Model Y or Model Y or Model X, I always say the Model Y is the best valued vehicle out there because of depreciation, value, dollar for dollar, and all that stuff. And I noticed something that was really weird. So right here, we take a look on the screen, the Tesla Model Y, you can see it starts at $47,000, Model Y long range $49,000 or $49,990, which is basically $50,000. And most people qualify for this $7,500 federal tax credit, even though there's a lot of people that qualify, they don't think they qualify, they still qualify for at least a benefit of this. But even though, so right now it's $50,000 for a Model Y long range, it was just recently like $52,000, $53,000, maybe even $55,000 for the price. But taking a look at the used auction side, and you can see right here, this is Manheim auction reports. You can't get access to this unless you have a dealer login. And so you can see right here, we've got it plugged in, 2022 Tesla Model Y long range, pretty standard stuff, right? That's a vehicle that was sold a lot in volume last year and the years before, especially through 2022. And what this is, what Manheim actually is a report that you can see actual transactions, wholesale, of course, from dealer to dealer, and then those dealers buy it, they recondition or whatever, and then they resell it to the next person or private seller, or they sell to a customer and things like that. But taking a look at some of the numbers down here at the bottom of transactions that just happened literally just yesterday. We've got a one Tesla Model Y 2022. So remind you now, this is a 1-year-old, almost 2-year-old vehicle at this point. with 875 miles, sold for $51,000. And you got to think here, a dealer's only buying it because they're going to go and sell it to the next person, right? For another one, $48,000 with 10,000 miles. Another one, $46,000 with $8,000 miles on it. And so you got to think here, this is really weird, right? Because the price of these vehicles, they are right now at $50,000. And if you factor in the $7,500 tax rate, that brings you down to like 42, 43. Yes, sure, there's fees on top of that, DMV fees that you can't avoid. So that brings it to like $45,000 for a base vehicle. And it's really good to see that these vehicles at auction wholesale are still transacting in the high 40s. And those, and you know, this $51,000 one is not an anomaly at all. You can see 51, a bunch of them down here, all pretty much higher in the high range. So, and then if we switch it to 2023, which probably a lot of you are buying right now, and if you're wondering, like, are you going to lose a lot of money? Probably not, especially if you have the current price that is posted out there. You can see anywhere from $51 to $52 to $53,000. These vehicles are very, very still in demand, because I think what is happening here, and I guess it makes sense, but I'm not really sure. I guess people who don't qualify for the $7,500 federal tax rate, or people that are misinformed and they don't realize they qualify for the $7,500 tax rate, they think buying a used one will save them a little bit of money. And so that's why they go to the dealer lots and private lots and things like that, try and buy one. So maybe that makes sense. And so why there's still so much demand on the Manheim side, maybe that's what I'm thinking, but it's still interesting at the end of the day why, even though Tesla did massive price cuts across the board, and they will probably continue to do massive price cuts across the board, Tesla still hold better value than other luxury cars at the end of the day. And we see this as a fact through the auction values, through all this different data that we can see of people, dealers, and wholesalers still buying Teslas at high elevated levels. Usually when I see this, when I run this for like any other vehicle, 1 year, 2 years later, you're going to see 10, 20%, maybe even 30% depreciation from MSRP. But that's just not the case, I guess, right now in April for Tesla. If Tesla whacks off another $5,000, then who knows what could potentially happen in the next few months or even weeks. But definitely some pretty interesting stuff. Let me know what your thoughts on it. Let me know what you're thinking. I saw, sales tax, definitely a factor in that for sure. But this is wholesale to wholesale. So let's say, for instance, someone's buying a dealer is buying this for $53,500. They're going to resell it, I don't know, for $55,000. Either way, the person that's buying it, they either got to look at a new one at 55 or a new one at, I don't know what price it is, or a used one from that dealer that bought this one and resold it for 55, and they're going to pay sales tax regardless on both of them. So unless these are just dealers buying it for themselves, but that usually doesn't make sense, because Manheim is usually like wholesale to wholesale, business to business, to then resell to customers, and customers pay sales tax whichever vehicle they're buying it from, whether it's from Tesla or other dealers out there. But definitely some pretty interesting stuff. Let me know what your thoughts on it. We're going to jump into our next topic. But before we do that, this video is actually sponsored by my Patreon link. Down below in the description is a Patreon link where you can support the channel. So definitely